888-say-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, celebrating 7 years and over 700 cars donated to veterans. Learn more at keys2progress.com. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Got a jam-packed show coming your way today. Lots of stuff to get into. The very one and only Kevin Durant showed up in First Take Studios, my television show on ESPN every weekday morning from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time, 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific. Kevin Durant, the great Kevin Durant, showed up in the house on First Take today. We will get to that a little bit later on in this show. Don't you worry about it, because he had a lot to say. Had a lot to say about Draymond Green, had a lot to say about the Brooklyn Nets, had a lot to say about Kyrie Irving, had a lot to say about Steph Curry. We're going to get into all of that and then some as the show progresses. Make no mistake about that. But the first order of business to get into is the World Series. First things first, congratulations to the Washington Nationals. The Washington Nationals, first World Series champion in Major League Baseball history, as far as I can remember, that won a World Series by winning all 4 road games. Neither team in the World Series won a home game. Washington swept Houston, games 1 and 2 in Houston. Houston goes to the nation's capital, sweeps game 3, 4, and 5. Nationals come back, win game 6 and 7. Props to Steven Strasburg, 2 wins, 2.51 ERA. 1.05 whip, 14 in the third innings pitched in the World Series. 14 strikeouts, 3 walks. Opponent's batting average, 222. Strasburg was absolutely sensational, but guess what? He wouldn't have been my MVP. My MVP would have been Juan Soto, this 21-year-old kid who was absolutely sensational. 333 batting average, 1178 OPS, 9 hits, 5 extra base hits, 3 home runs, 6 runs, 7 RBI. There's nothing to discuss as far as I'm concerned. He would have been my MVP. Let me tell you who would have been my GOAT, as in the loser, not the greatest of all time, but the loser. The one most responsible for the demise of the Houston Astros. I would tell you it's A.J. Hinch, the manager. It's very simple to me. Let me tell you something. First of all, you got runners on base. I believe it was around the 5th inning, so Bregman comes up. You got to bunt that ball. Move the runners over. And a game, you know it doesn't take you that long to figure out that the game is going to be tight, that it will likely come down to the wire, that it's going to be a nip and tuck battle, and you got to manufacture runs. You got Bregman out there, let him bunt, move the runners over. But here's the biggest culprit. Here's the biggest reason why I've got Hinch as a culprit in all of this. This is the biggest reason above everything else. How in the hell do you not bring in Garrett Cole in the 7th inning? Zach Greinke was absolutely spectacular. 6 complete innings, 6 and a third innings. This dude allows 1 hit, no runs, into the 7th inning. Absolutely spectacular night. Stepped up, handled his business the way he did in Game 3, where he saved this season. And he showed up again in Game 7. Zach Greinke was sensational. But then he slipped up. And he gave up the home run to Rendon. Once you do that, I understand the thinking of Hinch. Well, you know what? We're going to get out of this inning, and then we're going to bring in Garrett Cole. And, because we haven't brought him in the middle of an inning because he's not a relief pitcher, so he's usually starting and all of this other nonsense. See, this is overthinking. This is analytics getting the best of you. This is you using numbers and not thinking about what's inside your soul, your gut, and going with that. We all know the Houston Astros are renowned for relying on analytics to a more adroit degree than many other organizations within Major League Baseball. We all know they pay attention to these numbers. We all know they look at things from a numerical or an analytical perspective, a bit excessively, one might add. Last night was a perfect example of that. How in the hell do you not go immediately to Garrett Cole? He's your ace. He's the one that's been balling. It's Verlander that's been struggling. Zach Greinke already started Game 7 for you. He's got nothing left. Why didn't you just go with Garrett Cole? The dude is a stud and has been a stud all year long. Since he's put on an Astros uniform before the postseason, his record was 35-10. The brother doesn't give up an abundance of home runs. You got runs, period. You got a 1-run lead with 8 outs to go. And a guy that starts and produces 7 complete innings for you can't give you 2.5? And find that sound for me, please. Shannon, when when Garrett Cole is talking about himself as an Astro, and I was nice being here and all this, he's ticked off. And I don't blame him. I mean, what the hell? It's game 7. It's game 7. This is it. There is no tomorrow. You heard Rocky Balboa. You heard Mickey. Say it to Rocky Balboa. I'm sorry, it was Carl Weathers. My apologies. In Rocky 3, when Clubber Lang, a.k.a. Mr. T, beat the living crap out of him. And Mickey had a heart attack and ended up dying. And Rocky lost all the confidence in the world because he sat up there and Mr. T was sitting up there talking about him. Saying, you scared, be a man. And Mickey was like, no, you're not fighting this guy. And Rocky's like, I want to fight them, while they're sitting out there outside the statue in Philadelphia and they're honoring them. He's like, what do you mean? I want to fight this guy. And Mickey said, you'll do it without me. And he walked away. And Clubber Lang, a.k.a. Mr. T, said, hey, woman, talking to his wife. Hey, woman. I know you wish you had yourself a real man at night. Why don't you come on over to my apartment and all of this other stuff? And Rocky lost it. Remember that? Then he went back to his house, his mansion, living a comfortable life. And Mickey said, because you can't win. He'll knock you to tomorrow, Rock. Remember that? He'll knock you to tomorrow, Rock. And then he went out and got knocked out to tomorrow. Lost his confidence, and then Carl Weathers, who, by the way, I just saw at the Staples Center the other day, looking pretty good. He sat up there and he's training Rocky, running on the beach, training him in the gym. He can't swim. He's not putting in the effort because he's lost all his confidence. And Carl Weathers screaming at him, there is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. That's what A.J. Hinch should have known last night. There is no tomorrow. It's game 7, damn it. How in the hell do you not get the ball to your ace? If I'm Garrett Cole, I don't ever want to look at this man again. It's game 7. I'm your stud. You tried Verlander. He couldn't get it done in game 6. He gave up back-to-back blast. It's come down to game 7. I'm here. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. And you got this opportunity, and you don't even call him. Why? Because it was the middle of the inning? That's the most stupidest, nonsensical thing I ever heard in my damn life. So you need to wait so he can start an inning. If that ain't overthinking the analytics of something, what is? So as a result, what happens? I'll tell you what happens. He brings in Will Harris. And this guy gets smacked around. And ultimately, a 2-run blast is given up to Howie Kendricks. And the next thing you know, they're operating at a deficit now. There's no guarantee that wouldn't have happened against Garrett Cole, but damn it, you take your chances. This is your race. You don't want to listen to me? Fine. Listen to Garrett Cole speak about this himself.
Learned a lot about pitching from my teammates, from the pitching coaches and pitching staff. Learned a lot more about the game from AJ, and it was just a pleasure to play in the city of Houston.
You heard that? Did you hear that? Does that sound like a man that's coming back to the Rockets? To the Astros? Does that sound like a man that's coming back, that's looking forward to being an Astro in the future? Does that sound like it? It sounds like he's saying goodbye. He's going to be a free agent, you know. He applauded his teammates, applauded his contemporaries, his colleagues in the pitching staff. Did he say a damn word about A.J. Hinch? Hell no. Hell no. And I wouldn't either. It's a game 7. This is it. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. And this guy is sitting up there with your ace in the bullpen standing. And oh, by the way, Hinch warmed up in the 6th. He warmed up, and then for some reason you sat him down and had Will Harris up in there. What the hell? I mean, this is some unbelievable stuff. It really is. I'm so sad. I got to tell you that. I'm so sad. Because I watched this guy. He won 107 games last year, lost just 55. In the 5 years that he's managed the Houston Astros, his record is 481 and 329. He's won 2 pennants and a World Series title. Not a bad job. Has never had a losing record. And I'm not trying to advocate he'd be gone or anything stupid like that. He's done a hell of a job. But I got to tell you something. He should have a very difficult time sleeping for many nights this offseason. You got Garrett Cole waiting with a championship on the line. There is no tomorrow. And you got him sitting there because of Will Harris. And you can't make this up. Can't make it up. Nationals deserve a lot of credit. Juan Soto is special. I love him. But it is appalling to me that the Astros lost in that fashion. I would have much. It's not. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost as bad as how the Yankees lost. Aroldis Chapman, it's not about you getting a home run smacked on you. It's about you being in Major League Baseball because of the heat that you throw. 100 miles per hour, and you're going to try to get cute with 87 mile per hour sliders against Jose Altuve. I mean, what the hell were you thinking? If you're going to go down with your best stuff, go down swinging. I never liked the fact. Never liked the fact that George Brett with the Kansas City Royals many, many years ago in the 80s smacked a home run off of Goose Gossage. I never liked it to win a pennant. I never liked it at all. But damn it, I got to give credit where credit is due. Goose Gossage brought the heat. This is how I'm going to go out. You're going to have to hit this fastball because this is what usually gets people out. I'm going out like that. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But Aroldis Chapman tried to get cute and then got the nerve to go and accept an award for Closer of the Year in the American League a week later. I mean, something wrong with this world, man. Something wrong with this world. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. AJ Hinch, you got Garrett Cole there. No wonder Garrett Cole wants to leave. I hope he wants to come to the Yankees. And I hope Brian Cashman sits up there and could you please listen? You're gonna sleep well at night. I saw the quote, Brian Cashman. You lucky I'm a decent dude that don't advocate for people to make it uncomfortable for you to sleep after an idiotic quote like that. You know how many Yankee hearts are broken because you didn't want to improve your pitching staff come MLB trading deadline? And you're going to sit up there and say, I'm satisfied with what we got? And then, oh, by the way, we didn't lose because of pitching. After your closer gave up a blast to lose the ALCS. I mean, you just can't make the stuff up. I'm telling you, people are comfortable. See, this is why I miss George Steinbrenner. This is why I miss George Steinbrenner. Because, damn it, if I ain't comfortable, you ain't going to be comfortable. You ain't going to sit up there and blow stuff and then walk around with a Cheshire Cat smile, acting like everything is all right. Hell with that. You ruining my day, I'm ruining yours. Plain and simple. 888, say ESPN, that's 888-729-3776. Speaking of ruined days, there's no way that these are pleasant days for the Golden State Warriors. You lose Kevin Durant. Klay Thompson goes down with an ACL tear. You come into this season, your defense looks horrid. You got 9 guys 23 years of age or younger, and that's somehow an excuse for you being one of the most horrific defenses we've seen in quite some time. Then you salvage a victory against the New Orleans Pelicans. You're feeling yourself a little bit. And then after that, you turn around and against the Phoenix Suns, by the way, being well coached by Monty Williams. Remember him? Former coach in New Orleans, former assistant in various places, and most lately Philadelphia. Remember, him and his family touched all of our hearts when his wife and at least one child, not a couple. I don't have the story in front of me, so forgive me if I messed that up in any way, but when they tragically lost their life in a car accident. And I remember, to know Monty Williams in any way, your heart goes out to him. Your heart goes out to anybody in that particular situation. But considering the classy individual that he is, how wonderful he and his family were, and, for him to suffer such a loss like that, it's just devastating. So it's always good to see him, and it's always good to see him okay. He ultimately landed on his feet as an assistant coach in Philadelphia. And then he got the head coaching job in Phoenix, even though he was interviewed for the Los Angeles Lakers job before backing out of that. He got the Phoenix Suns job and thus far is doing an impressive job. Has them playing better basketball than I've seen them play in quite some time. Let me say this. Ladies and gentlemen, they were up by 29 on the Golden State Warriors in the first quarter. Ladies and gentlemen, there are teams that can't score 29 in a quarter. Yet, they were up 29 in the first quarter. It was so embarrassing. Steph Curry was on the court at that time. So was Draymond and the rest. They were getting blitzed. And then, obviously, in the third quarter, Steph Curry is driving into the lane. Aaron Bain, former Boston Celtics, who had some really good numbers last night, slid over into the lane to try to draw the offensive foul, something that a lot of people think should be outlawed because you're coming from the weak side, you're trying to help and draw offensive fouls, and that's just a recipe for disaster, for guys to just really find themselves in precarious situations. Nevertheless, Steph Curry ended up breaking his left hand because Aaron Bain's body fell on that hand. We don't know how long he's going to be out or whatever, and obviously the Warriors season is over for all intents and purposes. Nobody is there to assume that we're going to see anything that comes close to a playoff squad. We're not going to see anything. There's no other way to put it. Okay? You also have to remember that if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you somewhat got screwed over because when you worked out the sign and trade, when Kevin Durant made it clear he was leaving the Golden State Warriors and he ended up going to Brooklyn, and you worked out a trade involving D'Angelo Russell and what have you, you have to remember Golden State had to include a first-round pick before Durant would agree to sign off. The Warriors begrudgingly gave it up and did so with a heavy condition. That condition was a top 20 pick protection, meaning if the Warriors either make the playoffs as a low seed or miss the playoffs altogether, they keep their 2020 first-round pick. That's what you're talking about here. So since they're going to miss the playoffs, they get to keep their pick, and the Brooklyn Nets don't get it. Now, let me say this about Steph Curry's injury. And we made news the other day because obviously I talked about how the Golden State Warriors looked like trash defensively. And Steph Curry was asked about it and, spoke about how it's easy for people to kick you when you're down, critics and all of this other stuff. And clearly he was talking about me. I appreciate him watching First Take. Thank you very much. He'll have more time to watch it now. But I will say this. I took no offense to what Steph Curry said. Steph Curry's a great dude, man. He's a great person. He's a great champion. He's the greatest shooter, the greatest sniper that I've ever seen in NBA history. He's class personified. He's good people. It's just that their defense was horrible. And somebody needs to say it because for the most part, defense is about effort. And it should never look that bad as the Golden State Warriors have looked in this first 4 or 5 games of the season. Period. I don't give a damn what anybody says. Having said all of that, now that Steph Curry is hurt, I got to tell you something. I hope he makes a speedy, full recovery. I'm not wishing any harm or ill will towards him or anything like that. But I got to tell you, I'm glad he's hurt. I'm glad that he doesn't have to play with these bunch of dudes right now. I'm really glad. When you're that great and you're relatively miniature, this ain't LeBron James at 6'9", 260, like a locomotive, hurting most of the people that make contact with him. This is the other way around. Steph Curry is a significantly smaller and more finesse player. And the fact that KD and Clay were not going to be there, I knew from Jump Street Steph Curry was going to get hurt this season. Because he's a pretty boy with mad, electrifying skills who dudes are determined to soften up any chance they get because that's their only hope of stopping somebody so magnificent. That's their only hope. So as a result, you know what they're saying. We're going to put a hat on him. We're going to put a body on him. We're going to make him feel picks and screens and slaps at the ball or on the wrist or anything like that. Steph Curry was going to get beat up. And why get beat up if Clay is not there with you? Why get beat up as a 3-time champion and a 5-time participant in an NBA Finals for a team that's going nowhere when you can rest your body after 5 straight years of getting to the finals and then come back next year when you and Clay are both healthy and do damage then? Why not? That's what I believe. That's what I truly, truly believe as being the right way to go. What about the rest of y'all? 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. To your calls and more in just a minute, so don't touch that dial. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Remember, coming back, I'll also play some excerpts for you from Kevin Durant's appearance on First Take. He had a lot to say about a few things. I'm going to make sure we air that for y'all right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. So please, do not touch that dial. By the way, go to the